Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to the channel. So, today we're going to do something fun and take a look at some exciting games that's coming over to the Nintendo Switch throughout 2022 and then in 2023. I actually made a list like this last week for the Xbox series, so if you missed that video, go check that out. But this is something that I really do enjoy doing. You know, just kind of highlighting all of these great looking games. It is a big part of the channel, but when I sat down to compile a list for the Switch, I quickly came to realize that this is yet another just absolutely beastly year for Nintendo. That shouldn't be overly surprising because they've really just been so consistent all generation long, but they're not slowing down even remotely. So today we're going to take a look at 21 exciting upcoming games for the Switch that is set to release in either 2022 or 2023. Now, I tried to stick with games that at least has a release window, so that means that Metroid Prime 4 or games like that will not be on this list, as there's really no indication of how far along those games actually are. However, there's still a lot of good games here that might actually surprise you, so let's just go and jump right into things. So to start off this list, I have the newly announced Tactics Ogre Reborn. It is finally official, this game has actually been confirmed, and I think that this is the perfect game to pick up for the Switch, as these tactical RPGs just feel so good on a handheld console. Now this is actually a remaster, though it does have some improvements such as voice dialogue and updated gameplay design. When you pair that with its already engrossing story and just fun overall mechanics, I'd say that Tactics Ogre Reborn is a must-play for fans of the genre. Now, unfortunately, it is a little bit pricier than what I'd like to see for a remaster like this at $50 for the physical version, but at the very least, you know that when you purchase this game, you are in fact getting a high-quality game that is often viewed as one of the greatest the genre has ever seen. It is set to release on November 11th of 2022. Next up here, I have Midnight Suns, which is interesting for a multitude of reasons. It is being developed by the XCOM studio Firaxis, and they're taking their expertise over to a Marvel-based RPG that mixes tactical gameplay with a card-based system. It will feature various playable Marvel characters, such as the massively popular Spider-Man, you have Iron Man, Captain America, and the list just goes on and on. It does have a rather impressive roster for fans of Marvel-based IP. On top of that, you also have your own customizable superhero by the name of the Hunter, where you get the choice of over 40 different powers as you prepare to fight off villains such as Lilith the Demon and Venom from Spider-Man. If you like Marvel and games like XCOM, then Midnight Suns is certainly worth paying attention to when it releases later this year in 2022. Now here I do have another PSP remaster, though up to this point, it really has been locked to only the PSP, and that's Final Fantasy Crisis Core Reunion. Crisis Core, of course, is a prequel to Final Fantasy VII that focuses on Zack Fair, which if you've played Final Fantasy VII, you know exactly just how important he is to the overall story. Crisis Core Reunion, though, is an action RPG, and it does appear to have gotten a significant upgrade to its visuals. They did note that it has completely new 3D models and system optimizations. It also has full voiceovers and new music arrangements. So it does seem like a little extra went into this game rather than it just being a simple ported remaster. With it originally being a PSP game, though, again, I think the Switch and its portability is just a perfect fit for Crisis Core Reunion when it releases in the winter of 2022. Speaking of games that fit well on the Switch, though, the Metroidvania genre has really become a staple for the platform, with games like Hollow Knight, you have the Ori franchise, and then of course, Metroid Dread. Please go play those games, by the way, they are absolutely extraordinary. But we do have another standout Metroidvania here set to come to the Switch sometime soon, and that's Grime. Now, this game is already available on PC, so we already know for an absolute fact that this is a good game. But in Grime, you'll explore a mysterious alien-esque world as you quote-unquote destroy, absorb, and grow. In typical fashion, you'll have a vast world to explore, plenty of platforming, and enthralling combat as you upgrade your abilities, backtrack, and grow stronger throughout time. The Metroidvania genre on the Switch, though, just keeps on giving, and Grime is our next gift. Now, one of the more ambitious and demanding titles heading over to the Switch is Hogwarts Legacy. This here is the Harry Potter game that fans of the books and movies have really dreamt about since they were kids. I know that I certainly have, as I do absolutely adore this franchise. In Hogwarts Legacy, though, this is an action RPG where you get to create your own character that will become a student within Hogwarts. You'll then partake in class, create bonds with other students, discover hidden secrets within the school, and even explore outside in its open world and fend off threats with your wizarding powers. Again, I think that this is a dream come true for Harry Potter fans, though considering just how ambitious this game is and how graphically demanding it might be, it will be interesting to see how exactly it performs on the Switch when it releases later this year in 2022. A lot of the anticipation for Hogwarts Legacy on the Switch will kind of depend on exactly how well it runs. One of the better beat-em-up games that I've played, being River City Girls, is set to receive a sequel. This is a colorful game that has such beautiful pixel art, but for as good as it looks, which means it looks great, it also plays just as well, with you gaining more and more combos throughout its adventure. Now, the story of the original was very over the top, with two girls just trying to save their kidnapped boyfriends, and in their quest to do so, they'll just beat up anybody that's in their way. It is quite humorous and fun throughout its entire playthrough, and I expect much the same with its sequel. Of course, though, there's also going to be new playable characters that will diversify its combat even further. It is interesting, though, because the beat-em-up genre has been making a bit of a comeback in recent years, kind of growing its popularity. So if you do like these type of games, absolutely pay attention to River City Girls 2. Sonic, without a doubt, is one of the most beloved and recognizable IP of all time, and ironically, it did used to be Nintendo's biggest rival. However, the days of Sonic vs. Mario is long behind us, as the blue blur now frequents Nintendo's platforms, and that is once again the case with Sonic Frontiers. Frontiers, though, is a big shakeup for the franchise, as it's Sega's first foray into shifting it into more of an open-world game. Now, this all sounds really interesting on paper, though whether or not they can actually pull it off remains to be seen. It does have more of a realistic visual setting that you might not expect for a Sonic game, and the assets do seem to be a little bit jarring in terms of randomness, but hopefully when we get to play it ourselves later this year, this will all pay off in dividends. I know for somebody like myself who grew up playing games like Sonic Adventure 2, I would love to see Sonic Frontiers come out and be a great 3D Sonic game. The popularity of Minecraft cannot be understated. It's actually quite amazing how well this game does even a decade after its original release, with no slowdown whatsoever. But something that we are starting to see is that Mojang is starting to capitalize on its success by making various spin-offs. A few years ago, we received Minecraft Dungeons, a very well-made dungeon crawling experience, and now they're trying their hands at an action strategy game, Minecraft Legends. Within Minecraft Legends, you'll have that familiar setting, all while defending villager settlements and fighting off hordes and hordes of incoming enemies. This actually seems like a really good pairing, and with the Minecraft name, I'm sure a lot of fans will be thrilled with its release, expanding both its universe and gameplay. Minecraft Legends is set to release within the first half of 2023. You might not expect it, but SpongeBob SquarePants quietly has one of the better collectathon 3D platformers to date, being SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, and that was on full display with its remake, Rehydrated. Well, it must have been successful enough to get its long-awaited sequel, The Cosmic Shake. Unfortunately, as of this video, we haven't really seen much in the way of gameplay, but based on the original game, I would expect another good collectathon 3D platformer with tight controls, creative level design, and then also a fun dose of humor as to be expected. Certainly don't sleep on this game, as it very well might be yet another hit 3D platformer, as these type of games have made a bit of a comeback here in recent years. Now, we all know that the Switch is kind of the king when it comes to these smaller independent games. Again, it's just the beauty of having that portable option. But one upcoming independent game that really stands out is Sea of Stars. Now, this is actually coming from the creators of The Messenger, which is an excellent action platformer with a lot of personality, and technically, Sea of Stars is a prequel to that game. But however, as you can see here, it is heavily inspired by one of the all-time great retro JRPGs, being Chrono Trigger. That is quite big shoes to fill, but so far it has instilled a lot of confidence, not only because we know for a fact that the developers are very talented, but also it's just such a beautiful game. It has some of the most beautiful pixel art that I've personally seen, and it seems like a lot of love and attention was poured into this game. I mean, if anything, if it plays as good as it looks, and if it's as fun as Chrono Trigger, we could be in for a real special game here when it releases in 2023. Now, here I have Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp, which is a game kind of shrouded with mystery. These are remakes of the beloved turn-based strategy RPGs that released back on the Game Boy Advance, and to this day, they are viewed as some of the best games to release on that platform, which is quite impressive to think about considering just how stacked the GBA library is. Well, now it's heading over to the Switch with a complete remake, overhauling its art style and visuals. If you like games like Fire Emblem, you'll be right at home with Advance Wars Reboot Camp. The thing about this game, though, is that technically, Nintendo has already finished its development, and, well, it's actually ready to release right now. But due to worldwide events, Nintendo has decided to delay this game until further notice. So really, this game could actually drop at any time. It's really hard to tell exactly when it'll release, but hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. As you might have noticed by this point, Square Enix has been a big supporter for the Switch with various console exclusives. And well, that continues on with their new IP, Harvestella. Now, this isn't an intriguing game that seemingly mixes in Final Fantasy with its action RPG gameplay and job-based system, but then it's also a life sim akin to something like Harvest Moon, as an example. It's a very interesting combination that has a lot of potential if done right. Now that part there kind of remains to be seen, but it's hard not to notice how addicting this game could actually be if it reaches its full potential. In Harvestella, though, our protagonist awakes during the season of death, where plants have withered and people within its world can't even explore the outside world due to its various problems. That's where you come in, though, as you help the residents cultivate the land and explore its outside world, which includes dungeons and a plethora of enemies. Harvestella is set to release on November 4th of 2022. Now, earlier we talked about the rise of Metroidvanias, and one of the key reasons for that is very obviously Hollow Knight. Well, its sequel, Silksong, is finally right around the corner, which looks to expand on its challenging Souls-like gameplay, though this time you're playing as the more acrobatic Hornet. This alone will vastly change its gameplay and how its combat works. You will once again, though, explore its atmospheric, grim-dark labyrinth of a world as you fight 150 new foes. For fans of the Metroidvania genre, though, Silksong's looking to be yet another must-play experience, and with that handheld option that the Switch gives you, this might be the way to go to play Silksong when it eventually releases. One of the most overlooked games in the Nintendo Switch library is Mario + Rabbids. This is actually one of the better Mario spin-offs ever made, as it mixes in turn-based tactical battles, the Mario franchise, and then the humorous and wacky Rabbids. It has a lot of personality, it's smartly designed, and just feels good to play. Well, its sequel, Sparks of Hope, is set to come out on October 20th of 2022, though they are changing how its combat works. It has more of a free movement system this time around, which will be interesting to see how that works in real time, but once again, it looks like a brilliant and surprisingly good combination of franchises and genres. If anything, if you've noticed anything about this list at all, fans of tactics RPGs have a lot to look forward to in 2022 and 2023. This might very well be the new golden era for this genre. There's been this very nostalgic trend of HD 2D games here in recent years, thanks to games like Octopath Traveler, you have Triangle Strategy, and then Live Alive HD. These games look absolutely gorgeous on a Switch, and well, we do have another exciting HD 2D game incoming, but this time from the beloved Dragon Quest franchise. They are bringing back Dragon Quest III with that HD 2D art style, though details of its release is a little bit vague as of this moment. They did announce this game back in 2021 though, so there's a good chance that this game could come out next year, maybe, hopefully. But based on what Team Asano has done so far, and just knowing the quality of Dragon Quest III, this will certainly be an exciting game to look forward to. I do hope, much like some of their previous HD 2D games, that it'll also have voice acting, but I guess we'll just have to kind of wait and see. Now, if you've been following this channel for a while, you probably know how I feel about Nier Automata. I 100% believe that this game is a modern masterpiece, and I'll argue with anybody that says otherwise. This game has a beautiful story, its setting and atmosphere is absolutely breathtaking, the music is among my favorite soundtracks of all time, and then to just top it off, it's one of the better action games to exist, period. It's just a masterclass in every possible category, and well, now it's also heading over to the Switch. Really, the only question about this game is on whether or not it will perform well. The good news here, though, is that based on early indications, that sounds promising at the very least, with them claiming that it'll run at 30 frames per second at 1080p resolution while docked, and then 720p at 30 frames per second in handheld mode. Now, whether it's stable or not, as always, just kind of remains to be seen. But if it is stable, then Nier Automata, without a doubt, is a must-own game if you haven't played it already, when it releases for the Nintendo Switch on October 6th. And to round off the top 5, I have Nintendo's colorful third-person shooter Splatoon 3. Now, if you've played previous Splatoon games, you kind of know what you're getting here. But for those that still not jumped in, you play as squidlings, which can paint the environment with various weapons. Because they're part squid though, they can also swim within the same colored paint, speeding them up or slow them down in different color paint. This makes for all types of strategic elements when it comes to its gameplay. Now, the cool thing about this game though is that it is the complete package, which is kind of rare to see in modern games anymore. But with Splatoon 3, it does offer a single-player campaign, a cooperative mode where you fight off hordes of Salmonid, and then it also, of course, has its popular competitive mode where you face off against opposing teams to see who can paint most of the well-designed environment. It's a very fun franchise that has a surprising amount of depth to it. Splatoon 3 will be out on September 9th. After all of these years, Atlus finally grew a brain and realized that Persona is a franchise that probably do well on other platforms, especially on the Nintendo Switch. I mean, not only is this the most successful console in Japan by far, which would be kind of important for the Persona franchise, but also Persona just feels fantastic on a handheld device, as the PlayStation Vita and the PSP have already proven. Well, that's the thing, because Persona 3, Persona 4 Golden, and yes, the most recent and very popular Persona 5 Royal are set to come to the Nintendo Switch. Now, my personal favorite among the three would be Persona 4 Golden, thanks to its story and the chemistry within the main cast of characters, but truthfully, you really can't go wrong with any of these games. They're all excellent turn-based RPGs with dungeon crawling, monster capturing, or in this case, demon capturing, and then it also has engrossing social sim and time management elements. Next up, for fans of hack-and-slash action games, Bayonetta 3 is finally upon us, and for those who's played the first two games, they'll kind of understand exactly why there's just so much excitement for its third installment. The Bayonetta games are incredibly fun, that sits among the pantheon of greats within the genre, like Devil May Cry and God of War as an example. The Bayonetta franchise really is that good, thanks to their combat and over-the-top design and stories. Bayonetta 3, though, is once again being developed by Platinum Games and published by Nintendo, so this is an exclusive title that's releasing on October 28th. As a bit of a bonus, for those who haven't played the first two games already, both of those are available on the Switch, which allows you to play the entire trilogy on the Nintendo Switch. There are very few franchises out there that's as widely recognized as Pokemon. These are among the most popular games to ever exist and are also synonymous with the Nintendo brand. Well, lucky for us, the next mainline installments are coming later this year on November 18th, being Scarlet and Violet. In Scarlet and Violet, though, they are making some rather big changes. For the first time ever for the mainline entries, Scarlet and Violet are set in a fully open world where you can explore everything at your own pace and are not restricted to following a specific path. This means that you can complete each gym in any order that you prefer, though the challenge of the gyms, they might vary a little bit. You also have more traversal options as you obtain a legendary Pokemon that acts as a motorcycle that can also glide and even surf across water. There's even 4-player co-op and raid battles on top of that. In many ways, this is a dream come true for longtime Pokemon fans, mixing in its much requested open world with its classic formula. There's a good mix of new and old here as it tries to evolve its beloved formula rather than just flat out changing it. As a longtime Pokemon fan myself, it's actually one of my favorite franchises ever made. Yeah, I'm very excited to play Scarlet and Violet when it releases on November 18th of 2022. And on to our final game here, we all just kind of knew it had to be none other than the much anticipated Zelda Breath of the Wild 2. To this day, Zelda Breath of the Wild, which launched side by side with the Switch, remains a fan favorite within its library. It's really just taken the Zelda franchise to new heights, as it's gone on to sell more than 20 million copies worldwide, and to say that there's some excitement for its sequel is probably a bit of an understatement. Unfortunately though, painfully very little is actually known about its sequel other than its brief gameplay snippets that we've seen so far. But we have witnessed Link using some new abilities such as liquefying himself and going through the surface. Playing in the skies also seems to be a big focus in this game, which it kind of leads me to believe that this could be linked to Skyward Sword in some shape or form. I guess we'll kind of see about all that, but What I will say is that I do hope that we see more traditional dungeons than the original Breath of the Wild. I think by adding some more traditional dungeons as opposed to just those shrines, I think that that's a great way to improve upon the first game, which already had great exploration. I think that those dungeons are about all it's missing, but nonetheless, what we do know about the sequel is that it's on track to release in 2023, and I think I can kind of speak for everybody here. I cannot wait to get my hands on the next big Zelda title. Anyways, though, that's it for this list, but hopefully you found some exciting games to look forward to throughout the next year or so. As always, though, if I didn't mention a game that you're anticipating, of course, let me know in the comments below. Other than that, though, go and make sure to hit that bell notification and subscribe button below. That way you can be notified the next time I upload a video just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.